Hello out there, my name is Laolu Akonde and you are on to Inside Sources. Here is my take for today entitled How Social Media Influencers Replace Failing Government Institutions and the Dangers Therein. Today I want to talk about replacement. When a pipe bursts in your house and the government water doesn't run for 6 months, what do? You drill a borehole, you buy a tank, and you install a pumping machine. That's exactly what has happened in Nigeria's public square. Social media influencers have stepped in to replace failing government institutions. And the dangers therein are now staring us in the face. I'm talking about names such as Gist Lover, Tunde Ednut, and Very Dark Man. Now, why did we have a replacement? Like I said, because of the failure of government institutions. Let's not pretend about it. This fact that we now have social media influencers play this significant role, it didn't happen in a vacuum. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. They do a lot of good, by the way. So a citizen goes to the police station and is told, "We don't have fuel." Another citizen goes to the anti-corruption office with a petition, and silence is all she gets. People go to the courts and their cases take over a decade to be resolved. And on a daily basis, people see impunity, even on live TV. We have institutional failure. For instance, during the last campaign in Osun gubernatorial election, the video of a serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria went viral, saying members of the opposition party should be killed. Everyone saw the video. To date, that senator has not been charged to court. If the state will not apply the law to the powerful, the people will look for their own law, and that is what is happening today already. So not only do we have institutional failure, we also have institutional delay. For instance, a mother whose child is missing, a trader defrauded of 2 million naira, a worker who is owed salary, where do they go? By the time government agencies or institutions respond, if ever they do, oftentimes the people have suffered the damage. So the people found a new alternative. That alternative is Instagram Live. That alternative is TikTok. That alternative is VDM, Gist Lovers, Tunde Ednut, and the likes of them. So, yes, social media influencers have replaced some failing government institutions because people need justice. And there is too much impunity, especially by those who sway power. The gap was open and they filled it. The second point here is that there is a danger in all of this because the new powerful social media influencers often don't have guardrails. And that is the danger. Replacing a failed system with one that has no rules at all is like treating malaria with poison. Traditional institutions, for all their faults, had guardrails. The police had a police act. The courts had the Constitution. Even journalists have to deal with editors. Lawyers had MBA and rules, ethical rules that guide them. But this new replacement, these social media influencers, there are often no ethical limitations or guidelines that affect their work. And we are seeing the danger of that absence of ethical guardrails play out before our very eyes. And so we see trial by social media. Just last month, an influencer went live and gave a not guilty verdict on a murder suspect in a case that is still in court. The judge has not ruled, but because this particular social media influencer has millions of followers, those millions Most of them believe that the case is sorted out. Why? Because the influencer said so. Now, that is not justice, that is mob rule. Reputations go damaged because there's an allegation that is flown by 2 a.m. and by 8 a.m., businesses are boycotted, names of people are dragged, and the court of public opinion has already ruled. Facts come later, if at all they do. The algorithms that run the social media does not reward truth. Those algorithms reward outrage. Those algorithms reward the loudest voice. The third point is a proof. For instance, the contest between VDM and Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, and also the issue of the NBA. This is not theory. It has become like a case study. It's happening before our very eyes. First, the Femi Falana SAN case. On September 24, 2024, VDM posted a viral video based on a purported audio from Bobrisky. The audio alleged that EFCC officers collected 50 million naira, and it also claimed that a senior advocate and his son helped secure a presidential pardon for 3 million naira. VDM then named Femi Falana, SAN, and his son Falana as the ones that are being involved. The Falanos denied it vehemently, and even Bobrisky also denied the audio, because we cannot fight impunity with impunity. And so we are not calling for government censorship. Absolutely not. We are calling for a people's code, a Nigerian influencer code of ethics built by us, the people. There has to be truth and verification. There has to be checking before we post. And if something is unverified, it must be labeled as unverified. The courts have to be the place where evidence is tested, and the courts must be respected to do the job. The court must also have dignity and right of reply. We must always ensure in the social media that we get the other side. There must be correction when there is an error. No doxing. That means you can't just give out people's private information just because you are calling them out. People have a right to their privacy. There has to be transparency. People in social media must disclose if something is sponsored. They have a right to make money, absolutely. But they must disclose when they have received money before the advocacy. They must tell us. They must disclose their political interest and no BOTS. This is what is happening in other countries. In the United Kingdom, there's what is called the Online Safety Act. In the European Union, there's what is called the Digital Services Act. In Kenya, there's a code for bloggers. And in the United States, there are tons of billion-dollar defamation suits that are putting people in the social media in check. No democracy should allow power or influence without responsibility. It is a recipe for anarchy. Now, this is how I conclude. Social media influencers have replaced failing government institutions, and in many instances, it is not a bad thing. And many Nigerians are excited that they have hope. Some of these social media people give the people hope. That is a fact, and it is good. However, when the void fills itself, the next thing you have to deal with is the danger of how impunity will produce a new type of tyranny, a tyranny that has millions of followers. On a bigger scale, let us fix our institution. We got to. But while at it, let us not replace lawful conduct with noisy behavior. And there you have it. Inside Sources goes full blast right after this. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today I have a formidable Nigerian who is an active politician, progressive politician, I must say. He was the former Director General of the National Orientation Agency, a leading member of the APC all the way since the days of the AC. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources, Dr. Garba Abari. My brother.
How are you?
Welcome back.
Good to see you again.
Quite a lot of things since you came here last.
Absolutely. The proverbial water that has been passing under the bridge.
But let's start from this issue of subsidy.
Yes.
You know, because you were in government for 8 years, and these were some of the things that we dealt with. You know, we served in the same time. And one of the things that happened in our own time was the reluctance of President Muhammadu Buhari to remove the subsidy. Now, of course, he acknowledged the fact that it's quite a lot, like, you know, a lot of money that is going down the drain to do it. But President Buhari was particularly reluctant, in my view, to remove the subsidy. But of course, by the time he left in 2023, there was no budget allocation for it. Now, so let's start from there. Why do you think President Buhari managed the question of subsidy differently?
He was reluctant to remove the subsidy. Not because he was not aware of the massive corruption that was characterizing the subsidy regime at the time.
Yeah.
But he was equally aware of the very weak institutions that would have actually dealt with the foundational issues, especially the corruption that around which the entire subsidy matter was hinged. He was not quite convinced as to the fact that only a handful few, maybe some 5, 10, 15, 20 people of the 230 to 40 million Nigerians plus were benefiting from the subsidy. And of course, with you using the benefit of hindsight, you will come to realize that when the subsidy was removed, it became obvious that those who were benefiting from it was actually every Nigerian, so to say. Because exactly. when it was removed, I personally, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I want to speak for myself.
Absolutely.
Everything about myself has changed since the removal of the subsidy. From my cost of energy, the cost of fueling my cars, the cost of travels, my lives and livelihood.
What about your farm?
Those of, if you talk about that, it's something entirely different. In fact, more than 45% losses I have encountered over the last 3 years.
Wow.
Simply because we cannot keep the cost of maintaining the production as it had been before the removal of the subsidy.
Wow.
So if I define myself as actually one of the very privileged, one of the very few privileged Nigerians could suffer what I have suffered in the last 3 years, then I can imagine what happens to ordinary Nigerians who, in fact, even before the president left the scene of the swearing in on that day,
on that May 29th,
you remember the very dramatic incidences that happened at various filling stations.
It's true.
So
the filling stations were changing the prices right there.
Right there, in spite of the fact that they had already gotten this product at a much cheaper rate. So this is the situation. So the truth of the matter is, the subsidy removal has impacted in more ways than one in changing the course of our everyday lives in this country. Why General Buhari, for the 8 years that he remained, did not tamper with it was simply because Nigerians that he had actually promised some good life. Even if he couldn't give
he didn't want
as much as he had wanted, owing to exigencies much more than what he could contain, owing to exigencies both within and outside our shores. He was quite aware of what would have been the consequential effect on the average Nigerian. And God bless his soul, we have already seen the consequential effect of the subsidy removal. Yes, it is a practice that is shrouded in a lot of corruption, a lot of lack of transparency, lack of accountability. But then, is it not the responsibility of government to detect all of this and deal with these issues as they arise?
Absolutely.
So you can see clearly now that the 2027 election campaigns have started.
Yeah.
And one of the frontline issues of discourse in the last 1 week has been subsidy removal or no subsidy removal. Atiku Abubakar has promised subsidy removal in 2022, 2023. Now, in 2027, he is saying he is going to return the subsidy. Now, perhaps not swallowing his vomit per se, but perhaps he must have gotten some new insights on how to go about this. And I really would want to see the details of how he really would want to get it done. To go around this issue. Basically, he has said two things. One, the corruption that was supposed to have the subsidy removal would have addressed, did not address it at all. Because there is a lot of corruption still going on. That's one. Two, government has not come clean to Nigerians with the humongous amount of money realized from the subsidy removal. And the questions are being asked, where is the proceeds from the removal of subsidy? Three, Atiku Abubakar has spoken about reducing the cost of production, saying that Nigerians must, as a matter of right, enjoy the benefits of resources that God has given to them. And these resources should not be a source of cost, but it should be a cause of blessings to them. And whatever it is, everyone around the world agrees that issues of subsidies by governments for citizens is something that is being practiced all over the world.
Right.
Whether in agriculture, whether in energy, whether in transportation, whether the point still remains that subsidy or no subsidy, we have to convince Nigerians as to why either of the two options that are now being placed on the table should be the way to go about.
And I really, I do agree with those your comments, and I wanted to take it forward this way, so that we can delve deeper. My view, and then you will comment, is that the whole argument about subsidy, like you said, I don't think it's not a rocket science in understanding the huge waste and the corruption. But I think what we have not, or what our government have not, especially this one, has not been able, in my view, to really consider sufficiently, is the fact that the poor people, the ordinary Nigerians, who have no, at least regarding subsidy, who have no complicity are the ones that are carrying the severest part of the burden of removal of subsidy.
That is the truth of the matter. That is the truth of the matter.
We are not looking at that.
Of the matter. 63% of Nigeria's population since the removal of subsidy have gone poorer. Poorer. Now, if the reason behind the coming of government into society is for the welfare of citizens, the protection of their lives, and the securing their property. Welfare should be on the front line of all the priorities. Bring out all the priorities. Among them, the number one should be the welfare of citizens. I listened to the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs yesterday. Quite a brilliant...
when we were launching the $1 billion...
But this is like a social safety net that is coming maybe too late
at the
end of the day. And he too acknowledges the fact that truly Nigerians are poorer now than they were 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's a fact.
In fact, it is no realism. Institutions of state have to align days on which workers come to work. Reason simply because the 70,000 naira increment,
77.
or 77, or some even 80,000, actually cannot even take them to work and back for 2-3 weeks. Talk less of feeding, talk less of Medicare, talk less of rent, talk less of children's school fees, talk less.
Yeah.
Now, in all of this, the argument about subsidy or not subsidy, and this is one of the very interesting things that we are likely going to see going forward in the campaigns.
Yeah.
You can now see clearly how the Muslim sentiment now does not even come into the argument at all.
Because people are hungry.
What is definitely going to drive this campaign are one of the issues, and this is really going to be very beneficial to the political process. We are going to be seeing issue-driven campaigns, and one of them has already been started.
Yeah.
That is a debate around the lives, the livelihoods, the welfare of Nigerian citizens.
Yeah.
How have we fared? How is the subsidy removal in any way benefited me going by what government had already promised? We have already been hearing about the economy is around the corner. The economy is turning the corner. The fiscal issues are already fixed. Right. We are only dealing with the monetary issues, and then this one we are going to find our way. So it has been promises and promises and promises while people get poorer and poorer and poorer. Now the campaigns are starting, and we hope to see more issues come up. Because Nigerians would have to finally decide whether this government deserves another term, whether those who are giving an alternative view should come under the scrutiny.
Excellent point, Dr. Abari. And, one of the personal, when I reflect personally, is that when we were in government too, this narrative of, the suffering is temporary was on. It was a big struggle, But hey, when you speak to the policy makers, then they explain to you, and you as a spokesperson, you have to go out with that narrative, believing and hoping that those guys doing policy know what they are doing. But, Doctor, I find out that is still the same language. I mean, for instance, APC, since APC took power in 2015, and I share in this because we supported APC, you know, I mean, you are even much more
I was
than
the
myself.
secretary of the merger committee.
Exactly.
Two of us, actually. One is late now.
Yeah.
Senator Yakubu Laume, of blessed memory.
Yeah, well, God bless his memory. So when I think of that, and we're still, 2015 to now, that is, that's like 11.
Yes.
Yeah, 11 plus 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2015 to 2025
right.
is 10. 11 years of APC, and we are still saying the suffering is temporary. I mean, I'm just a little bit, because, hey, we got to be frank here. How long is APC going to be telling the Nigerians that the suffering is temporary?
The reason is simple. The party has not consolidated on its success and has not lived up to the realism, and it has not lived up to its own foundational principles. The party should be the driver of policies of the government that it has put in place. It should be the one that should engage citizens on understanding why things are happening the way they are happening. Government and this party must have to have some form of synchrony. Party goes to the public space, engages. Government spokespersons go to the public space, engage with the citizens. And then where there are disparities, where there are misunderstandings, now this kind of things will have to be brought out in clear terms and say this is where we are and this is where things are happening, this is where things are not happening as expected. But when a party becomes just a bureaucratic institution, when a party becomes just a bureaucratic institution, and it does not, and is run by people who do not even understand what the principles of the party. We say we are a social democratic party. The APC is a social democratic party. Social democracy is an ideological tendency. It is something that you find in between the harsh realities of capitalism, and then maybe the all dampening tendency of communism. So in between the two tendencies, the left of the center behavior is what defines it. And then when it comes as a social democratic principles, it comes with its own policy direction. It comes with its own policy direction. We have not seen, actually, especially in the last 3 years, any social democratic principle being exhibited in the way governance is being managed. In fact, we are even more in terms of adhering to the capitalist principles. In terms of adhering to the capitalist principles.
We are like becoming right of the center.
In fact, we are becoming right of the center more than even the Burrito Wars institutions and their principles of cut down subsidy, cut down social services, cut down. And all of this are happening at a time when we say we are having more money to spend. So how do you juxtapose the two?
It's quite, it's a riddle, Doctor. And you, being a political scientist, you probably help us to even, expatiate all of these things, because the political party, the ruling political party is even struggling with its own internal democracy issues. And, and I would like to have your view on this, but I'll paint this scenario. They've just come out of a very controversial set of primaries. We know of people who want to be governor, who want to be senators and House of Representatives, who will vow that in their states or in their constituencies, there were no primaries, and that the primaries that held in certain instances does not, the list that was submitted by the party to INEC has little or nothing to the primaries. So I wanted to ask you, Dr. Abari, not just because you're a political scientist, but you're also a founding member of APC, that how did APC get to this point? Is this something that has been happening long, since 2015? At what point did you think the party started to, in my view, this is my own opinion, to lose its soul as a social democratic party, a left of the center?
A big question, and actually it's a very long story. But the problem, but the fact of the matter is, we as a ruling party carry the moral burden to lead by example. To lead by example.
Yeah.
Because we are the ruling party. We have the moral responsibility to lead by example so that others can also copy.
Yeah.
We have the moral burden to ensure that our democracy actually is deepened and all the principles governing it are also respected. When a party refuses to work and respect its own processes, then it's so different from any other party, whether opposition or not opposition. When a party becomes bereft of the moral high grounds upon which to build on its own principles, respect its own laws, be guided by its own constitutions, then the result is what we are seeing today. And I think we got this from the very time when we lost the process of electing the party leadership through a properly constituted convention.
Okay.
When you hand over power, when you hand over
the party,
an institution in a democratic setting, an institution as important as a political party, and is subjected only to the whims and the caprices of individuals,
the president,
to the
governor,
to the detriment of the larger membership, then what we see and what we are seeing will continue to happen.
True.
We have seen a total capture of the political process. And therefore, because the political process has been captured and the space has already been taken, by people whose insatiable, with such an insatiable lack for power, then definitely you will see this kind of thing happening. The other day, I was also listening to the chairman of the party, Professor Ntawe, in Ibadan, apologizing to party members and calling them to be patient, that there will be some reconciliatory processes. Now, these are, if it is in Ibadan, as it is in Kwara, as it is in Nasarawa, as it is in
Ogun,
in Ogun, as it is everywhere. Now, this is actually the situation, as it is in Yobe, my home state.
Your home state. And thank you for bringing that scenario. Because, Dr. Abari,
it's a capture.
I felt...
It's a capture.
Yeah, I felt for Dr. Netanyahu, because he looked very helpless. He looked completely, totally helpless.
Walk away.
Yeah, he looked helpless.
Walk away.
It's like that. Well, I have no control over these things. Please just help me keep it going. I mean that's the impression I get, especially regarding that trip of his. He's
everywhere,
totally
wherever he
helpless.
goes, is in the story.
So this is part of the problem.
Laole,
yes,
we
please.
have a party that has drained. It has drained from the very moment when its conventions were not conventions as provided for in the party constitution, but as determined by individuals who have an insatiable desire for control and whose desire to make their imprimatur felt across every angle of the party process.
Yeah.
So in this case, you will continue to witness a situation where internal democratic processes are abused, respect for the constitution of the party is not there, imposition of candidates will be the order of the day.
Yeah.
The party recruitment processes is definitely going to be compromised, and that is why in many instances would iron and would rock elements as representatives of the people.
Yeah. But Doctor, when specifically did you think this happened? Because, I think we should talk about that.
In 2015, it was fine.
It was fine.
In 2019, it was fine. But from 2019, that was where the situation started.
Yeah, because, I think it's important to make that point, and one would have expected.
From 2019, when our primaries, our congresses and the conventions were actually taken over by people with an insatiable desire for power and for control. That is the time where we missed the bus.
Interesting. Because I remember that I think it was the incumbent president and yourself that formed some kind of reconciliation committee.
It was not. It was a reconciliation committee set up by President Buhari. It was a one-man committee.
Yeah,
given a responsibility
and the
given to President, given to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where I had the honor of working with him as a secretary, the committee, and he turned in a fantastic report. But as since turned out, because the recommendations were not implemented,
right,
and since continued to deteriorate, until he himself got to office, and we are seeing what we are seeing,
and it's getting worse. What I was going to say is that, and I recall that we have discussed this issue before. That you said that now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a one-man committee. You were a secretary. You went around and did a lot of work.
Fantastic work.
Brought out a fantastic work, but wasn't implemented. And one would have expected that now that he has the control, that these things would have been implemented. Why, in your view, do you think it's difficult for him, to implement his own recommendations?
I have no answer for that, really. I have no answer. But the only thing is that my initial expectation, immediately after he won the presidency, was to actually turn his face towards the party.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
That's what you expected?
That was what I expected.
To fix it.
Turn his attention towards the party. And they make sure. We worked together with him in the AC and in the ACN.
And he was an excellent party man.
He's a deeply democratic individual when it comes to discussions, with brilliant ideas for party building. So what happened?
So is it that the weight of the office of president seemed to have beclouded his vision, or is it because he has primed his own emergence for a second term, he has primed it, prioritized it ahead of any other thing? Because these are the likely explanations, you know, and we're just theorizing. We don't know.
Yeah, this could be a likely scenarios, but the point still remains that I have seen a completely different President Bola Tinubu from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. From the time he won that election, even before swearing in, I would have expected him to turn his eyes towards the party, knowing what he knew before the primaries, knowing what he knew in the conventions or 2 conventions before the primaries that threw him up as the candidate.
Now, at what point, and you are a very strategic and key person to ask this question, at what point do you think it will be too late for the APC? Are we there yet, or we are close to it, in your view?
We are not there yet.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, we are not there yet. You are not putting me on the spot. We are not there yet. We are not there yet. But I know whatever is going to be the outcome of the 2027 elections, whichever way it goes, there will be total recalibration of the entire party system in this country, not only for the APC, but for all the other parties.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, if we will continue to feign ignorance, if we continue to play the ostrich and refuse to face the reality of the fact that what we are witnessing actually is not in any way
shape or form
a democratic process.
Yeah.
And of course, you know it is not. From the way we recruit our leaders, from the way we we run our primaries, from the way we run our congresses, from the way we run our conventions, from the way we even conduct elections, whether off-season or general election, we know that we have lost the democratic ideals. And if we really want to be a democratic country, and if it's governed by the ideals of democracy, you know, popular participation, inclusivity, voters' right, you know, extensive franchise, allowing the people to decide who will be their leader.
Yeah.
Unless we are able to accept all of this situation, and we keep feigning ignorance and really playing the ostrich, then it is not only the democratic process that is in danger, but the entire country.
Interesting. So do you think, like some people have espoused, that the only reason why APC is still standing together with all these dynamics and all these contradictions?
Because we are in government.
Because we are in government.
That's right. That's right.
Tell us about that.
That is because we are in government. Because we are in government, there are a lot of crumbs to throw at people who will be willing to sell their principles and who are willing to compromise.
Right.
Now, if you can compromise simply, and there are more reasons now to compromise. There are more reasons now. The poverty level has actually reached a point.
Poverty has been weaponized even to the level of...
Poverty has become so weaponized.
Yeah, this is quite very, very heart-rending because, you know, my first interview when we started Inside Sources was with Chief B.C. Akonde. And one of the questions that I asked him is that, you know, when the party was being formed, everybody knew that this was a party, this was a real progressive party with a very definitive progressive manifesto, you know, and that was 2023. You know, it was already clear, you know, that the party was losing its soul, and he told me that look, that he could see the traces, and that it would be up to the party going forward, including the president, to reinvent, you know. To reinvent. Yeah, I've not had the opportunity to discuss with him recently, but it seems that the party is losing that distinction. In my view, and then I'll let you comment, what seems to be the real advantage that the party has now, besides the fact of incumbency, is that we have a fragmented opposition. What do you think?
We have a fragmented opposition. And this is not good for our democracy. We need a strong, vibrant opposition. Strong, vibrant opposition. Not only an opposition whose main desire is to unseat a sitting government. No. An opposition that will come with policy alternatives that will actually address the problems that are really afflicting this country. The challenge of national unity.
Insecurity.
Highest rate of unemployment, intolerable level of living standards. So where we do not have a strong, vibrant opposition with the capacity and the competence to bring out alternatives to how we will navigate around all these issues, then our democracy is in danger, or at least weakened. At least weakened. Unfortunately, what I am seeing is a fragmented opposition who do not actually seem to have the larger interests of the country. It is more about
of the self.
About it's either me.
It's my turn.
Well, I do not know whether it is, but it is either me or nobody.
Or nobody.
And for as long as this kind of
perspective
remains, then perhaps we are handing over the election to a government that is already seated and feels very comfortable in spite of what Nigerians are saying.
Yeah, because, it seems to me that 2027 is going to be between two options, that the people are fed up with the suffering on the land. I think some progress has been made in insecurity, but it's still far to fetch. But so you are dealing with people having been discontent.
The security situation is still bad.
No, I agree. No, it's just because we've seen some how do I call it, some breakthroughs. Like some of the
and they have, because the security situation is still bad. It has consequential effects on the upcoming general election. So many people have been displaced.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. And then you comment. So I was trying to lay to define the lay of the ground the way I see that. So there's very deep-seated discontent, among the people about living conditions. There's a crisis of living conditions. There is serious inflation. 40%, over 40% transportation costs, over 30% inflation rate.
It's 100% transportation cost actually.
Exactly. Now, on the one hand, and then on the other hand, a certainly unprepared opposition. So it seems to me that Nigerians will have to determine and say, okay, should we just, show our discontent and give it to, anybody that is new, or let's give these guys a little bit more time, because there is no clear, like you said, there's no clear agenda from the opposition. I commend former Vice President Atiku for reopening
the subsidy
debate, even though he had said, but hey, if he did it because he's looking at people suffering, I will commend that. Some people said that no. In fact, somebody called me and said that the reason that he did it is because he's trying to raise money from the people who will make money from the subsidy if it was removed. So I don't know why he did it. But to the extent that we are able to discuss the issue, bring out the debate, I think that there is a use for that. But Doctor, how do you read the lay of the ground before Nigerians go into this election?
So many things actually to talk about. And that is why I say it's going to be a very interesting campaign period. It's going to be a very interesting election period. to watch. Because issues this time around are coming up.
Yeah.
The subsidy issue is already on the front burner, and it is now actually driving the national discourse.
Yeah.
The issue of poverty is driving the national discourse. Now, there is another that will come up. And this is something to do that has direct impact on lives and the livelihoods. Yeah. We have had a lot of promises, a lot of programs of this government about agriculture. Nigeria's mainstay
it's agriculture.
Of the economy is agriculture. Nigeria's mainstay of our economy is agriculture. And this is where the majority of our people are employed. At the moment, it is no longer profitable to go back to farm because the process, the products coming out of your farm cannot actually pay for even the cost of labor and the cost of pesticides and the cost of fertilizer.
Wow.
Now, all the monies, let's assume that it is not even the government that does the import, but it has at least created an enabling environment for people to import food.
Yeah.
And this has crushed prices.
Yeah.
And it has kept a lot of people out of jobs.
Yeah, a
lot of farmers are actually recording losses. Now, this is one area where government should also look at in terms to provide subsidy. Subsidy for what?
Yeah.
For agriculture, for fertilizer, for pesticides, for herbicides, for even cost of labor, for tractor hiring, for. We have not seen this. I was in the village just a couple of days back. I remember. You remember I called you one day in the village.
Yes, I remember.
And I was alarmed as the number of people who have said, no, this time around we're not going to farm.
Wow.
Why? It's because for you to buy one bag of fertilizer, you have to sell 2 to 3 bags of maize or millet.
Wow. Look at that.
This is an issue, I am sure, will definitely also be. Politicians, knowing them, they will capitalize on this. But we want them to capitalize on it by way of telling us really how to address this issue that is becoming a very big issue that is characterizing the debate around the poverty plates.
Excellent perspective, and it's just looking very, very on the one hand very dicey. But on the other hand, also it's going to be very exciting.
But most important, but also you have to also understand that in spite of all of this, in spite of the very harsh conditions, in spite of very harsh investment conditions, in spite of very high interest rates that the governments, the banks are charging, in spite of everything in the negative, our young men and the women are still breaking grounds, and this is in spite of government.
That's the power of the resilience of the Nigerian.
Now, the power of the resilience of the Nigerian must also have to be brought to the fore, and let the opposition now tell us really how they are going to address this matter.
Absolutely.
The resilience of the Nigerian, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, but because it's actually an opportunity for the opposition to.
If you have taken time to read through our manifesto as ACN, and then as APC, you will have seen actually how all these issues have been clearly segregated, itemized, and discussed with time frame and implementation strategy.
True.
This party actually lost it because people who actually have no reason being in the party in the first instance, still not of being its leaders, are the ones that are running the state of affairs.
Wow. All right. One last question because of our time. I remember that the last time you spoke about this security group in the north.
Yeah.
Of which you are the spokesperson.
Yeah.
So give us an update about how that group still sees the situation.
We call it Arewa Discussion Group.
Discussion Group, yeah.
It is the security issue still remains the most topical issue that we are talking about. because we are worried from three reasons, from three perspectives. We are worried that the security situation is going to impact very negatively on the elections because people's rights will be infringed upon. Yeah. They will not be able
to exercise
their franchise. That's one. Two, the larger implication of the security of the insecurity is also the displacement of people away from their home, from their bases, leading to migration, leading to settlements, and the consequential effect of all of this on identity. You see young people of 2, 3, 4 years already on the streets, hundreds of kilometers away from their original homeland, growing up on the streets, under the bridges, begging, with no skills, with no education, with no prospect, all over. Now, this is another thing. And we feel that it is very, very important that traditional rulers, religious leaders, our governors in particular, where these security challenges are most felt, should rise up to the occasion and know how to address these issues. And then finally, the effect of this displacement on women and the children, on women and the children, and of course how also that will impact on their identity, on their on their dignity, on their self-respect, and all the accompanying things that insecurity actually brings about. Now, we in the Arewa Discussion Group keep bringing the discussion to the forefront, asking government at all levels to realize the danger of how if care is not taken, we are coming out from one set of Boko Haram inside to another because of the kind of children that we are bringing up with no hope, with no future, with no education, with no skill.
Very, very severe situation that you've described, Dr. Abari. And I just hope, just like you said, that at all levels, the governors,
at all levels,
and then the federal government, give us some kind of solution. I know that we've talked about state police. Are you impressed with the progress so far? What's in 30 seconds?
I have never been a supporter of this of state police. When was the last time? What is it that the present police, if adequately funded, if adequately personalized, if adequately equipped, cannot do that the state police will do?
Well, it's a very important point that you made.
Especially by going by the recent example we have seen in the election in Osun, which was characterized by massive bloodshed.
Yeah. And we have a situation where a senator of the Federal Republic asked that other parties
should kill the opponents of another.
Yeah.
I mean,
no consequence.
Well, I do not know. We are still watching.
I agree with you. Entirely, Dr. Garba Abari. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. Thank you for your views and the insight. And thank you because we'll be bringing you back.
My brother, thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
May it be well with our country.
Amen. Amen. And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means Nigeria will win, partly because we will keep talking about the major issues. Thank you for watching. And by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.